Welcome to Universe Live Sports. I'm Ash Dubois.
And I'm Ben Rudder.
We've got a lot to cover today, so let's get things kicked off with men's basketball. The men's basketball team wrapped up the 2025 to 2026 season with a 23-12 record, finishing right in the middle of the stacked Big 12 conference at 9-9. Offensively, this team was electric, averaging over 83 points per game, but defensive inconsistency became the story as the season went on. And it all starts with freshman star AJ DeBonsa, who is unreal this year, leading the team with nearly 25 points per game and earning Big 12 Freshman of the Year and All-American honors. AJ quickly became one of the most electric players in college basketball. He wasn't alone though. Robert Wright III controlled the offense, while Richie Saunders brought energy on both ends until his injury.
BYU made quite the stir in the Big 12 tournament, especially in that opening round win over Kansas State, dropping 105 points with the DeBonsa exploding for 40 points, 9 rebounds, and 6 assists. That's the kind of performance fans were hoping would carry into March. But in the quarterfinals, BYU ran into a tough matchup against Houston and fell 73-66. DeBonsa still dropped 26, but the issue was late game execution. BYU went cold from the paint, missing 16 of their final 21 shots and getting out-rebounded down the stretch.
Still, the Cougars earned a number 6 seed in March Madness, and there was a lot of hope heading into the tournament. With one of the best scorers in the country and a fast-paced offense, fans believed this team could make a run. But once again, consistency became the issue. BYU's season ended in the first round of the NCAA tournament, losing 79-71 against Texas. After last year's Sweet 16 run, it was a letdown. That's a tough finish, but the future in Provo is still bright, with top recruits Bruce Branch III and Dean Rucker joining the team next season. And that's the big takeaway. This season may not have ended the way BYU fans had hoped, but it showed real flashes of potential for the future of BYU basketball. Good luck to all our guys in the upcoming NBA draft.
In the modern landscape of college basketball, the transfer portal is a big part of bringing in talent and experience. Caleb tells us about where BYU stands in the portal and what positions they're most likely going to target.
April 8th at about 2:30 p.m., BYU's had 3 players enter the transfer portal. The most important of them being Rob Wright, starting point guard. And so BYU is going to need to prioritize the point guard position in the portal. Rob Wright was great at getting his own shot at the rim, but I'd like to see BYU target a point guard who can distribute the ball a little more to shooters, which would be the next priority for BYU. BYU really struggled to shoot the three-point ball at a consistent clip this past season, and so having that point guard be able to distribute the ball to shooters from the three-point line is going to be very important, and particularly shooters that can shoot, that have proven it at a consistent level, so that they can come in either off the bench or start and just provide that instant spark. And then the second item of priority for BYU in the transfer portal is going to be not just one, but probably a couple big men. BYU center Xavion Staten entered his name into the transfer portal, and so BYU is going to have to target length in the front court, especially centers that can create their own shot and get that ball in the bucket. I'm thinking in particular of names in the portal, and Duke and St. John's are among the teams that are targeting some targets for BYU in the portal, and BYU's going to be very competitive in the portal with big men. And then the last thing is a defensive stopper, a player that can guard the opposing team's best player. And this was lacking as well with BYU this past season, in that they didn't have a guy who was just giving that energy on the defensive end. Richie Saunders was a great defender and gave a lot of energy, but once he got hurt, BYU really struggled to defend one-on-one, specifically on their best players. And then Dominique Diamande as well has entered his name into the transfer portal, and so somebody to fill that role and be able to give that energy off the bench and be consistent is going to be critical for BYU's success this next season. And so these are just some of the positions that BYU is going to need to target this upcoming season. And they really are going to have to target the big men and the point guard in particular. And so I guess we'll just have to see who BYU is able to get out of the portal.
Thanks, Caleb. There are several other players that have entered the transfer portal, so there will be many new faces on the team next year. Now let's take a look at the women's side.
The BYU women's basketball team just finished up a really strong postseason run, making it all the way to the WBIT title game and taking second place. And for a team that barely missed the NCAA tournament, this was a chance to show what they've been building on their first-year head coach, Lee Kimard. Players like Delaney Gibb and Olivia Hamlin helped the Cougars stack up 26 wins, and they were huge in that 4-game run to get BYU to the championship game. In the title game, however, Columbia showed why they're such a tough team. They've been to the NCAA tournament the last couple years, and they played like they had been there before. The Cougars just couldn't find their rhythm early, shooting only 23% the first half and falling behind big at the break. Columbia's pressure forced 18 turnovers, and BYU never really got into the same flow they had during their win streak. Still, you have to give credit to Gibb and Hamlin. Gibb dropped 24, Hamlin added 17, and both of them kept fighting even when the game fell out of reach. After the game, Coach Kimard talked about how this was something they can build on and that the way they fought is exactly who they've been all season long. So BYU comes just up short a little bit in the postseason title, but they walk away with 6 postseason wins and a ton of growth, and a clear sign that this program is moving in a really good direction under Lee Kimard.
Congrats to Lee Kimard and the women's basketball team on a great year. Coming up after the break, we're talking about the outstanding freshmen that have put their all into BYU.
I don't remember how it started.
Go to that.
Our back and forth. It always came back.
Dad!
You probably don't remember what you told me,
That was perfect.
but I heard every word.
I touched it. I touched the ball before it went out, Coach.
Come on, Alex. The ref did not call that.
You gotta be kidding me, Alex.
It's the championship game. Talk to him, Coach.
I touched it. It's their ball.
Don't foul them when they inbound. Team on 3. 1, 2, 3.
Let's go on, Alex.
Sorry, Coach.
Alex. Alex. Good call.
Sportsmanship. Pass it on.
Red.
Everyone has a ritual, that small thing that keeps us focused. A habit we never skip to clear our minds and elevate our performance.
But what do you do to keep your head in the game, to drown out the self-doubt and support your mental health? Because being your best isn't just about taking care of your body.
It's about taking care of your mind and mental health. Discover the resources you need to keep your mind focused and your mental health a priority.
Welcome back. It would be hard to talk about BYU sports this year without mentioning the contributions of our star freshmen. Let's turn it over to Abby to talk about one of the best, AJ DeBonsa.
This is what a freshman phenom looks like. AJ DeBonsa came into college as the #1 recruit in the country and somehow exceeded the hype. He led the nation in scoring and dropped 35 points in his March Madness debut, one of the best performances we've seen from a freshman on that stage. But he's not alone at the top. This year's NBA features 3 elite players. DeBonsa stands out for his scoring and athleticism. Darren Peterson brings elite playmaking and control, and Cameron Bruiser is most polished and efficient. It really comes down to ceiling versus consistency. Now, where DeBonsa lands depends on the lottery. The Washington Wizards are the most likely landing spot, while the Utah Jazz may be the best overall fit for his development. The Brooklyn Nets are wild card, and the Indiana Pacers, while a perfect fit, would need a lottery miracle. But wherever he goes, AJ DeBonsa has the potential to be a franchise-changing player.
For our next freshman star, we are featuring BYU women's basketball Sydney Benally. Benally was the team's starting point guard in her first season playing with the Cougars. She led the team in assists this season with 148 and contributed 7.6 points per game. Our sports reporter Zach Lewis was able to sit down with her and talk and ask about her season.
Pretty good look.
And just like that, turnover number 9 by Coastal Carolina. Benally, left corner, open 3. Girl, Benally. Step through. Oh, what a top of that screen. Wazoo back in front. Benally, and that one rattles around.
All right, Sydney, thanks so much for joining me today. I really appreciate it. First, I'd love to hear a little bit about what your experience was like in your first postseason tournament in the WBIT.
Yeah, overall in the WBIT was the longest season that I ever been a part of, and so I really had to consider like the importance of recovery and just you're never going to be 100%, so just continue to push through. And again, it was just grateful that we're playing until April, and overall it was a great experience.
You just finished your freshman season. What's kind of your biggest takeaway from this first season at BYU?
I think my biggest takeaway is, as a freshman, I was given a big role being point guard and starter, which I am so very grateful, and I didn't really see it coming. But I learned like a lot. I had to mature fast, and I didn't want to be the freshman on the court. I wanted to play beyond that. What are kind of your next plans or goals in your basketball career? In my basketball career, my goals this season, or this coming season, especially in this off season, is just to continue getting stronger, sharpen my skills. And right now we're taking a break, but I still just want to continue working, get in the gym, but also continue fueling that love for the game. Mm-hmm. All right, well that's all I have for you. Thanks so much for joining me today. I really appreciate it, Sydney. Yes, thank you for having me. Thank you.
What an impressive start to her BYU career. We're looking forward to what Sydney can do in what is hopefully many years in a BYU uniform. Let's take it back to Abby to talk about BYU football's Bear Bachmeier.
After a full freshman season, Bear Bachmeier has already put together one of the more productive first-year campaigns in college football. He finished with over 3,000 passing yards, 15 passing touchdowns, and added more than 500 rushing yards with 11 scores on the ground. That's close to 3,600 passing yards of offense as a true freshman. But what really stands out isn't just the production, it's the efficiency, averaging over 8 yards per attempt with only 7 interceptions. So you're seeing both efficiency and pretty solid decision making. We've seen other young quarterbacks like Dante Moore show flashes early, but also dealing with inconsistency and turnovers. Bachmeier, on the other hand, has combined production with efficiency from the start. But for that success to continue, the next step is for Bear to build consistency with his passing, turning the production into more touchdown efficiency through the air. And if the efficiency carries into year 2, that is what turns him from a solid young quarterback into a top 10 QB nationally.
BYU golf has been making headlines mostly due to freshman Kihei Akina's performance. Universe Live sports reporter Tyler Angerbauer had the chance to interview Kihei earlier this week.
Star freshman Kihei Akina has been tearing it up for BYU golf. Kihei has had an incredible start to the season. BYU is currently a top 25 team nationally, and individually he is the 9th best player in all of college golf. Kihei, with all of this success, what was your goal coming into this season?
I had quite a few. Winning an individual event was up there, just consistent good golf, and then just be there for my team, be a leader for my team, be a good example for my team. I'm a team player, so I'm more worried about, our team's finishes than, my individual finishes, so help the team the best that I can.
Being a good teammate is definitely one of your biggest strengths. What would you say is another one of your biggest strengths?
I'd say the biggest strength is just being really level-headed on the course, and my demeanor, just saying, really just kind of, flat and not getting too high or too low, and just sticking to my process. And then in my game, I would say my iron play has always been a strength of mine, ball striking. I actually struggled a little bit with my putting in the fall, so we made a little bit of a change, and I've been putting really well this spring so far. The game as a whole feels pretty good right now. There's a few things that I would like to tweak going into our next tournament in a couple weeks. But yeah, overall, the game feels pretty good.
Kihei, you've performed phenomenally so far this season. You're currently a top 10 player nationally as a freshman. I'm curious, was there ever a thought of turning pro coming out of high school instead of coming here to BYU?
Yeah, there was some talks about it, but I was pretty pro of going to college. I feel like just the experience of being at college and playing college golf is something was going to be really good for me to develop my game and develop as a person before I go pro. So, college is kind of a stepping stone to going pro. Is going to be a good development for me.
That's great to hear, Kihei, and thank you so much for joining us here on Universe Live Sports.
BYU distance running has become one of the most dominant programs in the country, and this year it's been powered by a freshman who is already rewriting the record books. Jane Hedengren has burst onto the national stage with one of the most impressive debut seasons we have ever seen. Kennedy Walker sat down with senior star Riley Chamberlain and freshman Zariel Makia to talk about it.
Thanks, you guys. I sat down with Zariel Makia and Riley Chamberlain to talk about freshman phenom Jane Hedengren and her absolutely fantastic start to her collegiate career here at BYU. Here's what they said.
Jane's an incredible athlete, but she's even more of an incredible person.
She's still very down to earth and the most humble, giving person.
Coach Taylor has done such a wonderful job of bringing so much talent into this team. What is something that Jane does that elevates the group?
She just challenged me to test the limits a lot in practice, and she was just constantly seeing how much quicker she could go. Jane pushes us all to new levels. I feel like that's the difference on this team this year.
Some of the workouts, she's so far ahead of everybody else. If you want to be great, you have to surround yourself with greatness, and having somebody at Jane's level just helps lift all of us.
What is the kind of mindset that Jane brings to practice?
She's like, maybe I could go a little faster. Maybe I'm a little better than what my previous workout showed. She's always talking about, I can do it, we can do it, maintaining a can-do mindset. That's what she calls it.
Did you expect the success to come this quickly for her?
I feel like because of Coach Taylor and because of the way our team was, I figured she would thrive here. The best high schooler ever in her events, and she was just constantly seeing how much quicker she could go.
I didn't necessarily anticipate that she would be doing as crazy things as she has already done, and freshman year's not even over yet.
That's right, her freshman year's not even over yet, and Jane's already put her name in the history books. Outdoor season is ahead, and Jane's just getting started. Back to you guys in the studio.
We're looking forward to what Jane can do in outdoors.
Congrats to Jane on her record-setting performance. Coming up next, we dive into Brian Santiago's first year as athletic director and more news surrounding BYU sports.
Runners on your mark.
Heart racing as you made your little getaway. It feels like you've been running all your life, but why? Oh, why? So you pull away from the love that would have been there, and even let your situation down. When you fall that far, we lose our way. We get back up again. It's never too late. We get back up again, and one day you gon' shine again. You may be knocked down, but not out forever. Lose our way. We get back up again. It's never too late. We get back up again, and one day you gon' shine again. You may
Good to have you back. It was a very exciting year for BYU Athletics and also a very busy one for first-year athletic director Brian Santiago. Jackson gives us a glimpse into Brian's first year on the job.
Thanks, guys. 1 year ago, BYU Athletic Director Tom Holmoe retired. Holmoe had an impressive career and left big shoes to fill. But he didn't leave it a question who he thought the next athletic director should be in his departing press conference.
And I have a right-hand man, a wingman, B. Santiago, and I've been giving him a lot of strength.
After a national search, BYU found their next AD right at home in their backyard. Brian Santiago was hired, and he had an impressive and memorable first year as the athletic director. Santiago promised the athletes and the fans that retaining coaches would be his top priority. Santiago put his money where his mouth is, hiring and keeping Kalani Sitake and Kevin Young on staff. Santiago was successful in retaining all of BYU's coaches, but he was also successful in hiring new coaches. BYU women's basketball coach Lee Kamard was the first major hire by Santiago, and he hit it out of the park. Kamard led the women's basketball team to the WBIT championship game in his first season at BYU. Year one was a success for Santiago, and we are excited to see what many more years to come are in store for his career. Back to you guys in the studio.
Thanks, Jackson. The future sure looks bright for BYU Athletics.
A fresh start for BYU women's volleyball brings new leadership to the court. Marina Lopez takes a closer look at who's leading the program and what it means moving forward.
After years of success, the BYU Cougars women's volleyball team is stepping into a new chapter. Leading the way is new head coach Rob Nielsen, a familiar face back in Provo. Before returning to BYU, Nielsen led a strong program at Utah State, building a team known for consistency and winning. Now, he brings that same mindset back to a program with high expectations. But for Nielsen, this role is more than just a new job. It's a chance to come home. As a former BYU player, his connection to the program makes this moment even more meaningful.
It is the honor of a lifetime to get to coach at this university that I love so much, on this court, in this venue that is the best volleyball venue in the entire country.
And he's not doing it alone. He brought in assistant coaches Tori Glasker and Chloe Hurst, who both work with him at Utah State, helping establish trust and continuity from day one. Together, the staff is focused on building chemistry and preparing the team for the season ahead.
Thanks, Marina. We're excited to see how the Cougars take on this new era of volleyball. If you've been following the BYU basketball team this season, you probably have seen an Instagram account obsessing over a certain freshman on the team, gaining serious popularity with BYU fans. Our reporter Jake Robertson got to interview the owner of Boop Watch.
Thanks, guys. I had the pleasure of interviewing BYU alumni Minty Buckwalter about his Rising Star fan account named Boop Watch, giving updates on BYU freshman forward Hadim Boop and the rest of the BYU basketball team. He started this account this last basketball season, helping it grow to over 2,000 followers and counting, and he loves every moment of it.
I think my favorite part of running Boop Watch has just been the growth and the attention just from the past few months, and then also another thing is just having the freedom and creativity to really post whatever I want. So I like having fun with it. Just within the last 3 weeks or month, we've gotten to 2,400 or whatever it's at right now. And I think that is due to, these shout outs from the BYU account and BYU Sports Nation. So I think those shout outs have definitely helped, and it's been super fun and funny to see those.
It's got an Instagram page that's going crazy right now, too.
I got to give a big shout out to Boop Watch, man. His name is Minty, I really love that guy. He thinks like he's my fan, but actually I'm his fan.
I just love giving Hadim the recognition that he deserves. It's just so cool to think about his story from just a kid from Senegal, across the world. I will say if Boop was to transfer, I would cry for many years, uncontrollably. But I think he's staying, and so I'm excited for many years to come. I think he'll be around BYU for a year or maybe 2 or 3 more years. So I'm just excited to keep posting and keep giving him love.
Minty has high hopes for Hadim and the rest of the Cougs, and it certainly shows through his passion for this account and the fans that it has gained. Back to you guys.
Best wishes to Minty, Hadim Boop, and the rest of the team heading into next season.
Former BYU softball catcher Lindy Milkowski played a key role for the Cougars during their transition into the Big 12. Now she's taking her game overseas, playing professional softball in Italy. Field reporter Kate Daly is with BYU softball alum Lindy Milkowski to see how her transition to playing professional overseas is going.
Thanks, guys. We are joined here with former BYU softball catcher Lindy Milkowski. Lindy, thanks for joining us.
So lucky to be here. Thank you for having me.
You spent 1 year at BYU and now you're playing professional softball. Overall, what has the transition been like for you?
I think the transition has been, I think BYU prepared me for what I was going to face. Seeing that caliber in the Big 12 really helped prepare me for that. I think too, just the skills that I learned from Coach Eakin and the program that he's faced and the program that he's built has just been phenomenal. And I was so happy to be a part of it with everything that we were able to build and just the camaraderie and playing together as a whole team. It really helped me embrace the skills that I would use right now as a professional softball player.
What made you want to go to Italy to play to make that next step?
You get to play against good competition that some of these girls that we're facing and that are from different national teams, which just goes to show that softball has become way bigger and is now and is even bigger than what we know in the United States.
How important was your time at BYU and what did that do to you personally?
I mean, it was the most influential part of my life, I will say. And BYU is forever my home. I would not have traded it for the world. Best decision I ever made.
Awesome. Well, Lindy, thanks so much for your time, and we really appreciate you joining us today.
No, I appreciate you guys. Thank you so much.
Back to you guys.
Milkowski is off to a strong start in Italy, hitting .400 with a home run and 5 RBIs through her first 4 games.
Last month, the Disc Golf Club at BYU capped off another great season with a huge weekend performance at the Rocky Mountain Conference Cup. The BYU A team was able to win the team's event, beating the Colorado School of Mines and Colorado Boulder squads by 1 stroke. On the singles side, Ryan Bain and Noah Turnbull put on a clinic to take second and third overall place.
After securing their bid, the team is currently in Rock Hill, South Carolina, competing in this year's Division I College Disc Golf National Championship Tournament. Before they packed their bags, we were able to ask them about what this season has meant to them and how they prepared for nationals.
Yeah, it's been a great season. We've had some new guys come in. It's always fun to see the team grow.
The conference championship definitely prepared us as a group. We didn't have all of our top guys there, but me and Noah, who are both going to nationals, were there, and we were able to play just good enough to get the win.
It really helped with nationals because it helped me remember what it's like to be playing in high-stress situations when there's a lot on the line.
It's kind of about being relaxed going into it. The past 2 years we've had someone get injured at nationals, and that's not going to throw everything down the line, but it kind of is a morale defeater. And so one of the things that we really try and focus on is just being relaxed and loose when we play and having a good time.
Your mental game is more important than your physical game. You know, a lot of bad things can happen on the course, but it's how you react to it, which is going to determine what happens next.
Yeah, this nationals tournament means so much more just because it's the last time I'll be competing. There's a lot of redemption that I'm seeking at nationals.
It's a very historic course for disc golf, so I just want to soak up my time there. But I mean, I'd also really like to finish well. So,
you know, we've had success, which is always good, but also just like hanging out together, building memories and bonds and stuff like that.
All these guys are my best friends. You know, we hang out 3, 4, 5 times a week.
We're all proud BYU students. We enjoy going here, and so when we get to put on something that represents that we're from BYU, even if we're not in an official capacity, and getting to talk to other schools about what it's like at BYU and things like that. I don't think there will be many moments in my life where I'll get to put something on like that, and so it's definitely something that you remember, you take the time to think about before you tee off your first round of the tournament. So.
When asked about the Conference Cup and returning to the national tournament, Coach John Stoddard said, "I'm so proud of what we were able to do this year already and very excited for nationals."
The national tournament started yesterday and lasts all weekend. Yesterday was a windy first day at the tournament, and our guys are currently tied for 21st. Hopefully, they can bounce back today. Coming up after the break, we unpack the future of BYU football. So stay tuned to take a closer look at the 2026 wide receiver room. We'll be right back.
Hey, check it out. Huh. What happened to that guy?
Hey, get that sign back up! You're not alone. Together we stand. I'll be by your side. You know I'll take your hand. When it gets cold and it feels like the end, there's no place to go. You know I won't give in. No, I won't give in. Keep holding on, 'cause you know we'll make it through, we'll make it through. Keep
I was a quarterback at Hardaway High School, college first-round draft pick. On and off the field, we were taught to not show any signs of weakness. During the football season, I would stop eating, but I didn't know I was depressed. I thought that something was wrong with me. For 20 plus years was physical. We didn't have any education behind what mental health was. I started to learn it starts here first. If this is together, I'll be better as a father, as a man, and as a husband. Put the importance on your mental health. I'm not scared to talk about it anymore. The first tool is therapy. The second one is positive self-talk. And then journaling, putting your thoughts on paper. We have to redefine what being a strong man is and heal, love your mind.
Welcome back to the final segment of our show. We can't wrap up BYU sports without including football.
As BYU football gets ready for the 2026 season, one position group everyone's keeping an eye on it is the wide receiver room. Look, losing a guy like Chase Roberts, who is as steady as they come, that's a big hole. But inside the program, there's a real sense that this group is young, hungry, and ready to grow into something special.
It starts with JoJo Phillips and Cody Hagan. These two have been developing for a couple years now, and you can feel they're right on the edge of breaking out. They've got the speed, they've got the experience, and the coaches have been pretty clear this is their moment to step into bigger roles.
The transfer portal did BYU some real favors too. Kyler Casper brings legit size and big play frame on the outside, and at tight end, the Cougars added not one but two dudes who can make an impact right away, Walker Lyons and Roger Salipaga. Lyons is smooth and versatile, and Salipaga comes in from Oregon with that physical athletic style that fits perfectly in this offense.
And don't sleep on the depth. Reggie Frischneck has been one of the biggest risers this offseason. Coaches keep talking about his hands, his consistency, and just how much he's grown. He's the kind of guy who can quietly become a really important piece.
Then you've got the freshmen. Jaron Pula, Terrence Sarion, and Legend Glasker. These guys bring juice. They're long, they're fast, and they're already pushing the older players in practice. They're not being asked to carry the offense, but they absolutely raise the ceiling of the room.
The next step for this group is helping out second-year starting quarterback Bear Bachmeier. He got thrown into the fire as a true freshman last season, and honestly, he handled it way better than most guys his age would. Now he's got a full year under his belt, he's more comfortable, and the receivers can get open and make plays.
So yeah, there's still some questions, mainly about who becomes that go-to guy, but the talent is absolutely there. The competition is real, the energy is high, and this group has a chance to grow into one of the more exciting units on the roster and contribute to an already explosive offense.
The NFL draft is just 2 weeks away, and here in Provo, Cougar fans have plenty of reasons to be excited. Let us take you back to March 20th when BYU hosted its first pro day in Provo since 2023.
Several Cougars made sure the scouts in attendance took notice of them. With 17 players participating, there was a lot to see. The majority of NFL teams were represented, so it was a big day on campus for BYU.
The headline performer was cornerback Maury Bamba, who turned all heads with a jaw-dropping 4.27-second 40-yard dash, which would have been ranked among the top in his position at the NFL Combine. Defensive coordinator Kelly Papinga said Bamba has some of the best size and speed he's ever seen at the position. The NFL scouts have had his eyes on him for 2 years.
Bamba wasn't the only player who performed well. Safety Tanner Wall had a strong showing as well with a 4.13-second 20-yard shuttle and a 37.5-inch vertical jump. He put up strong numbers in all categories, showing his versatility and agility.
Now, one of the most talked about storylines from Pro Day wasn't just about the numbers, had to do with a familiar face returning to Provo. Former BYU quarterback Jake Retzloff came back to throw at Pro Day after spending last season at Tulane, where he led the Green Wave to an AAC championship. Coach Kalani Sataki welcomed him back warmly, saying, "Once a Cougar, always a Cougar." Retzloff was out there slinging it to receiver Chase Roberts and tight end Carson Ryan like he had never left.
That had to feel good for those guys.
Yeah, absolutely. Roberts himself improved his 40 time by a full 1/10 of a second from the Combine, clocking a 4.51 right here in Provo. And on the strength side, defensive tackle Kafusi Pakofe put up 39 reps on the bench press, which would have been first overall at the Combine and was the most reps in BYU Pro Day history. Now, with the draft being 2 weeks away in Pittsburgh, BYU could have multiple players hear their names called for the first time since 2024. Linebacker Jack Kelly is the name to watch. He ran a 4.57 40 at the Combine, 8th fastest among linebackers, and brings elite physicality off the edge. He is projected as a day 2 or day 3 pick. Wide receiver Chase Roberts, a 4-year team captain, ran a 4.64 40 time, but improved to a 4.51 at BYU's Pro Day. At 6'4" with great hands and route running, he's a guy who can make a 53-man roster. And finally, keep an eye on tight end Carson Ryan, who hauled in 45 catches for 620 yards and 3 touchdowns this past season. Scouts see a versatile weapon who does a lot of things well. BYU is trying to bounce back after having no players selected in the 2025 NFL Draft. And when multiple players performing well at both the Combine and Pro Day, there's a real belief that streak ends this year.
Thanks for joining us today for Universe Live Sports. It's been a great year for BYU, and we can't wait to see what's next.
Have a great day, and as always, go Cougs!